We can give just a second, get everybody in from the waiting room. Hello. All right, I think we've about got it. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good morning, family. Glad everybody's here with us this morning, and I hope you're having a great morning so far. You know our regular drill. As far as if you have questions, chat them in. If you are joining us on YouTube Live and have questions or comments, you can chat those in, and Julia will pull those over to this call for us. And if you are watching after the fact, you can go to the auxiliary.uga.edu website, click on the Auxiliary Connections tab, and then the survey and feedback link, and you'll be able to leave your comments, questions there for us, and you can leave them with your name or anonymously, whichever you prefer. Entirely up to you. Also, just a quick plug before we get started for the afternoon sessions. I want to make sure that we clarify, you did receive 2 emails today. This is Diversity Wednesday, Diversity and Inclusion, I suppose, Wednesday. And so there will be a noon session, and that was on me. I did not get the link out in time. And so you got a second email with that link in it. So we will be doing that at noon. And then we have 2 of the 2 NACUVS forums at 1 o'clock, one on nutrition and wellness and one for culinary. And then at 2 o'clock is the open mic Wednesday. And this afternoon will be with the marketing team. So that's the rest of the day. Now you know. And so we'll go ahead and start. This morning, we are talking about sustainability at UGA, and we've got Kevin Kirsche and his colleague Jason Perry that are going to be presenting for us today. So with no further ado, I will turn it over to you, Kevin.
Fantastic. Thank you, Catherine. And thanks, Auxiliary Services team, for having me as part of your program this morning. I've been so impressed in learning about your continuous online learning and growing during this unusual season. So I appreciate your innovation. And thanks again for inviting me to participate. So I was asked to talk a little bit about sustainability at UGA, and specifically about some of the auxiliary services sustainability initiatives. So I assume a lot of what I'm going to share today, many of you already know, but hopefully you'll hear some things that are new. And I think at the end of the day, I'm hoping that it'll kind of instill or kind of reinstill pride in your organization. As I started thinking about sustainability initiatives here at the university and auxiliary services part in that, I was just reminded that you all are rock stars. The auxiliary services team is doing so much, and we are big fans of your programs. We tout them and promote them and highlight them to anyone who listens. So it's a treat to be able to get to share them back with you all. So I'm going to start with a question for you. And if we were in person, I would ask you to share your answers. But since I don't get to see you and hear you, I'm just going to give you a moment to think about what sustains you. So when we're in person, I usually tell people, you can close your eyes if you want to, take a deep breath, and just think for a moment, what sustains you? So unfortunately, I don't get to hear your responses in real time. But as I think about this, during this season in particular, I'm reminded I'm really grateful for meaningful work and a consistent paycheck through these really challenging times. I know that's a privilege, and many people don't have that opportunity right now. I'm grateful for family. For me, one of the benefits of COVID-19 is I've had more quality time with my family. Working from home has worked well for me and for my colleagues in the Office of Sustainability. And I think each one of us has enjoyed the 5 minutes we get to interact with, like I get to hang out with my wife briefly during the day. So family sustains me and relationships in general. Good food sustains us. We'll talk about some of your food initiatives. People often say, clean air and water, and those are absolutely essential to life. And maybe it's faith and something that you can kind of hold on to in times when everything else seems so uncertain around us. Um, so when we think about sustainability at UGA, we think about all of those things. And the image on the screen now is from the United Nations. They have their global goals for sustainable development. And I'm showing this partly just to demonstrate that sustainability is often so much broader than many of us think about. It is recycling, but it's also so much more than that. So these lofty and meaningful goals go from eliminating poverty and hunger to promoting health and well-being for all people, and quality education and equality, as well as responsible waste management and clean air and water and affordable and clean energy sources. So in any case, when we think about sustainability, we think about it from a fairly broad and holistic perspective. At UGA and in the Office of Sustainability in particular, our commitment is to create inspired leaders, stronger communities, and thriving natural systems. In short, I think about sustainability as the ability for all people to thrive, both now and in the future. And so we need systems that promote and affirm the dignity and immeasurable value of all people. We need to continue to promote clean air and water, to create an environment and the resources that we all need to thrive as humans. So we think about all of those things when we think about sustainability at UGA. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the initiatives Auxiliary Services is leading, ways that you're leading and things that you're engaging in. And again, I mentioned that your team, you are the models in our minds on this campus for sustainability. I'm going to touch on several of the things you're doing, and there's so much more that we're not even going to get to. But I attribute your effort and your leadership to your visionary leaders. You have great leadership. From my perspective in Auxiliary Services, we greatly value the partnerships that we have with members of your team, and you have an incredible commitment that we've observed and gotten to interact with your staff members that are committed to supporting others, to collaborating, and to advancing sustainability in so many different ways. So you see here a clip of an electric bus. I think you've all heard a lot about that, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. The aeroponic systems in Oglethorpe dining halls has a great innovation. My daughter was on meal plan last year, and she would go in there, get burritos, and send me pictures of your growing towers. You work with UGarden to create campus-made, locally, organically grown salads, for example. The next image there is Athens Clarke County, who's picking up compost at the back of Tate Center in what's a fairly innovative compost pilot program for consumers in Bulldog Cafe. And then your team helps us with the water bottle reconditioning project, where instead of buying new water bottles, we're able to capture ones that are left behind by students all across campus, and your team makes it happen. By cleaning and sanitizing those bottles. We put a sticker on them and give them back out to students or anyone who'd like one across the campus. So I figured I'm going to talk a little bit about dining services and transportation and parking services in particular. And I'm going to let you, I'm going to say it in your words, or let your words speak for themselves. I don't know if you all have seen these videos, but Auxiliary Services communications team put together some great videos for Earth Day, and I'm going to go ahead and play them because I think they're very well done and succinct and communicate really effectively. So here we go. It's about a minute long. Excellent. So I feel like that speaks so well of your initiatives, and maybe you saw something that you didn't already know. There's so many great stats to pull from that, but one that really strikes me is the food donation program that you donated last year, more than 10,000 pounds of good food so that it could be distributed to community members in need. You all are not only feeding those of us on campus, but also working to support our community members off campus as well, which I think is fantastic. So one of the things that that video talked about was the composting program. And you all probably know you've been amazing leaders in waste reduction in general at UGA and specifically in composting. At one point we did some fairly rough estimating, but we estimated that about 10,000 pounds of organic materials every week from dining halls are being composted. So that's material that up until April of 2015 was going straight to the landfill. Now, those organics that are leaving the dining halls, instead of being landfilled, are being composted, and that compost goes to school and community gardens in the Athens area and ultimately helps to feed people in our community. So the image on the screen traces that process a little bit. You'll see at the kind of top left a student on a bike hauling compost bins. That is our kind of parallel compost program run by students in our office and by Jason Perry, who's on the call as well. We have students that service about 80 or so buildings on campus. There's compost bins in break rooms available for faculty, staff, or students. Particularly, we get a lot of coffee grounds, we get a lot of apple cores and lunchtime food scraps. Our students service those using an electric bike. They take the full bin, leave a clean, empty one in its place. They take those materials and they put them in the big compost roll carts at the back of dining halls and primarily at the back of Joe Frank Harris dining commons on East Campus. So we intermingle, mix in the break room materials with the dining hall materials. And again, for you all probably know this, but food left on service lines, food left on students' plates when they go back on the conveyor to the kitchen, all of those materials are organic and compostable, and they end up through this kind of mechanized system, through the pulper, and out this big chute at the back of the building, comes out looking like a coleslaw mix that pours and drops into these big roll carts. We add our break room materials to those roll carts, and then facilities management division comes by in their compost truck, picks up all of the materials from all the dining halls, and then delivers them to the bioconversion center. For those that don't know, bioconversion is part of the engineering research and education center on Whitehall Road. So if you go out South Milledge Avenue till it dead ends, you go past the botanical gardens and U Garden, dead end right there, Pepinos, turn right, and it's the second left into the Engineering Research and Education Center. And that's where there's about 3 acres of compost operations. The compost piles are long linear piles called windrows. The image in the middle of the screen shows kind of baby piles. Those things get like 5 times that size to 6 or 8 or 10 feet tall. The food scraps and the organics from dining halls is combined with landscape leaf and limb debris from landscape operations on campus, as well as with animal bedding from some animal facilities on campus. And it takes about a year, but it goes from those raw materials to being mixed together with air and water and microorganisms and bacteria that break down those materials and turn them into a nutrient-rich compost that is a soil amendment, and it helps plants to thrive. So we take the compost generated at bioconversion, we bring it back to campus to restore campus soils for planting beds or after construction, to restore the soil so that they can grow plant material and create the verdant campus that we love. But we also give those materials, that compost, to U-Garden, the student-run organic farm out on South Village Avenue. The picture in the bottom left is of students planting a row at U-Garden. It's an amazing teaching farm. If you haven't had an opportunity to go there, I highly recommend it. They take volunteer labor all the time. You don't have to know what you're doing. They teach you how to plant or weed or harvest, whatever the needs are. So it's an amazing opportunity for our students to literally get their hands dirty and learn how to grow food. Food from U-Garden then goes to Campus Kitchen. And Campus Kitchen they call it student-powered hunger relief. So students take fresh produce from U-Garden, as well as food donations from Trader Joe's and other restaurants or area grocery stores. They teach students how to cook those materials into nutritious and wholesome meals. It's kind of like Chopped. Every week. They don't necessarily know what they're going to get, but they take those materials, turn it into wholesome meals, and then that food is delivered to community members in need through a partnership with Athens Community Council on Aging. They deliver, I forget now the numbers, but I think they're serving like over 120 families through the Grandparents Raising Grandchildren program. So it's a really amazing program that your staff in the dining halls is directly supporting. So the food scraps from your dining hall ultimately becomes food again for our neighbors in Athens, Clarke County area. So it's an amazing program. It's a lot of work on the part of your team and back of house and back operations, but thank you for doing it. It has a tremendous positive impact and benefit for our community.
Kevin, before you move on, there was a question about the pulpers in the dining halls. Before you actually started talking about compost, somebody asked specifically, why do we use the pulper systems? And that was from the person who has to take care of them. They felt it would be helpful to know specifically why we have that so that they can explain it to people who use it.
Excellent. And thank you, Jason, for chiming in and for reading the questions, because on my screen, I don't see them. So that's super helpful. Do you want to answer that, Jason, or do you want me to?
I can take a shot at it. So the pulpers, of course, chop up the food remnants. And I think one of the important parts of it is dewatering the material so that there's less tonnage to haul to the bioconversion center. And it also, from a, I guess, more technical standpoint, it increases the active surface area of the stuff so that when it gets incorporated with the leaf and limb debris, it can more quickly interact with it on a microbiological level. And beyond that, it's also kind of a tool to make it less recognizable because sometimes, if a visitor comes on site, it's just something that we're sensitive about is not making it appear as though we have a landfill operation out there, which is absolutely not the case. But when people see what they make perceive as trash, they may have a reaction that we don't want.
Excellent, thank you. So yeah, that the pulper is pretty essential, and the dewatering that you mentioned, and my understanding is that that system kind of recycles the water that's extracted through that process. So it's an efficient system. So thank you to whoever posted that question, and also thanks for keeping that system operational. It does make it a whole lot easier to haul the materials. And as Jason said, the fact that it's already ground up kind of accelerates the actual kind of decomposition process and makes it a lot easier for us to utilize those nutrients on site at the bioconversion center.
Kevin, there was another question asking if Council on Aging is having issues feeding seniors due to COVID, and is dining services still helping?
That's a fantastic question. And short answer, I'm not totally certain. I know that they have had challenges. I know that they're very sensitive of ensuring health and safety of their clients during all time, and this time in particular. So I'm aware of some of the heroic actions of folks from various parts of UGA to help serve community members during this time. I don't know specifically what dining services team members may have been doing in that, but thank you for any time and volunteer efforts that you've been able to commit to serve the community, particularly during this vulnerable time.
We do have a comment that says we've donated to the Northeast Food Bank, I guess Northeast Georgia Food Bank, when we've had leftovers. Full Plate is not currently operating.
Okay, great. Thank you. Keep letting us know. I'm sorry if I misspeak. So Northeast Georgia Food Bank is an amazing organization that's probably doing more than anyone in this area now to serve people who particularly need that support at this time. So thank you for that. And we're actually interested in other, we suspect there may be more opportunities to capture and distribute edible food. So if anyone's interested in that topic, we'd love to support you in any ways that we can. I'm going to move on and talk a little bit, or allow you all to tell your own story through this video about sustainability initiatives in transportation and parking services. All right, so Jason, do you want to talk a little bit about bike share and maybe even any follow-up? I will say, as I mentioned from the very beginning, auxiliary services is a true leader in this space, and specifically with the electric buses. I imagine your team is being contacted by people all across the country. I know our office gets requests from universities and municipalities that want to learn how you've been able to do what you're doing with our electric bus fleet. It's inspiring that we have now from what I understand, the largest campus transit fleet in the country, and now the largest electric campus transit fleet in the country. Jason, do you happen to recall the stat in reduction in emissions per bus in the transition to electric?
Yeah, it was a net reduction of 70% greenhouse gas emissions.
Excellent, thank
compared
you.
to a diesel counterpart.
Fantastic. So it's a big deal, and we applaud your leadership. Many of you probably know about Bulldog Bike Share. If you don't, we're going to tell you about it, and we're going to tell you a little bit about how you could get involved and take a ride across campus or around town. Jason, do you want to talk about Bulldog Bike Share?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this yesterday, and I realized that I've been to some extent involved with bike share at UGA for about 10 years, I think. Starting around 10 years ago with, if any of you know Dane Richards in the Office of University Architects, he was an engineering student when I worked in the College of Engineering. And I mentored a senior design project where they designed a bike share system, conceptually. And from there, there's been a lot of interest in bike share. The Office of Sustainability has run Bulldog Bike Share through 2 iterations of kind of self-operated and maintained systems, culminating now in what we have is a vendor-run, auxiliary services managed, real deal bike share with starting with 100 electric assist pedal bikes at 22 locations around campus that launched spectacularly right before spring break. And then we were really excited for kids to come back and start using it this spring. And obviously what happened is nobody came back. So that being said, where I'm sitting right now, I'm looking out my front window. I live right around the corner from Brumby Hall. So I live in a kind of a student heavy neighborhood, and I will often look out and see a couple of people ride by on Bulldog bikes. So they are being used. They're being used all over town, and people seem to really be enjoying it despite not having 30,000 students here to take advantage of it. So it's still being operated. The folks who manage it for Gotcha, which is the company that runs it, are sanitizing bikes and balancing the system and keeping it up. But we are really, really excited, and they are really excited to, once things get moving again, to interact with folks and show them how it works.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm not seeing comments, but has anyone, Jason, if you're seeing comments, has anyone tried out Bulldog Bike Share yet? So if you have, hopefully you've enjoyed it. It's been one of my family's favorite quarantining activities. As Jason mentioned, they're available at about 22 different locations across campus. We actually love to go to the new park and ride lot after hours or on the weekend, park there. There's a Bulldog Bike Share station, usually well stocked. We pick up bikes there, and then we ride the Greenway or ride around campus or into town. The electric assist really flattens out those hills. So if you've walked or biked across campus, you know how hilly it is. And this electric assist makes it really quite easy to get up those hills. And it's just fun.
Yeah, Kevin, we got a couple of questions. Some folks are saying that they've used it. They know folks who have used it and like it. There was a question of, is it free? And there was one correct answer with some expansion. There is, if you just walk up to it and start using it, it's $2 to unlock and 10 cents a minute to ride. But if you sign up for a monthly pass or an annual pass, the monthly pass, I forget exactly what it's like $6 a month, or it might be $7 a month.
Yeah, $6.99, I think.
Yeah, and then it's $49.99 for a year. And if you are in either of those membership plans, there's no fee to unlock once you're in that, and you can ride it for 90 minutes at a time with no additional fees. And then it's $2 an hour after. It's been so long since I've had to think about this, I forget. So no, it's not free. If you sign up for a membership, it is almost free. And I recognize that $50 a year can be a lot for some folks, but it's still, if you use it a lot, that's the way to go for sure. I signed up immediately for the annual membership once they were available.
I did the same. I have the annual membership.
Somebody said I'm signing up now for the membership.
Fantastic. All right, excellent. And it may be harder to do memberships remotely. I can't remember, Jason. We had, there was a little bit of a glitch with the app where it was a little harder to do the annual and monthly membership remotely if you're not at a bike.
There's some funny questions. Somebody asked if there are bigger seats for bigger bottoms. The seats are generous. And there was a question about, do you have to have a credit card or debit card to sign up? Currently, that's the way it works, but the contract with Gotcha requires ultimately that a cash option is available, as well as a non-smartphone option. And so the auxiliary services one-stop shop is going to be instrumental in facilitating that. So folks who are either unbanked and or not have a smartphone will still be able to use the system.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. One thing I will mention, if you're just interested in dabbling and want to give it a shot, it's actually cheaper to sign up for a monthly membership than it is to just do the ride as you go. $2 to unlock, and what, $2, or I'm trying 10 cents a minute beyond that. So the first time we rode, I got the annual membership. My wife just did the ride as you go. She spent like almost $9 because we rode for a while. It would have been cheaper just to do a monthly membership, and then she could have ridden, as many times as she wanted to in 1 month. So
we have one more great question, two more questions actually. Can we participate via payroll deduction? That's not currently an option. I have the employee meal plan through payroll deduction, and that is awesome. And so I think that would be really cool if we could do that. Let's get a year under our belt on the system before we, I don't know. I don't control that. So if somebody out there knows how to actually make that happen, that would be really sweet. What about helmets? Will they be provided, or how does one get a helmet? Again, the one-stop shop. So if you sign up for the month or year plan, Gotcha will provide a free helmet. And they're actually pretty nice helmets. And the one-stop shop is the place to go. The Office of Sustainability is also a place you can go to pick one up. Of course, because of COVID, things are a little bit haywire, but that's the deal. And so if you sign up for a year membership and you want a helmet and you can't get one from those two places when you need it, let me know and I'll just bring one to you somehow. Wow. What if you have an accident and damage the bike? That is covered in the usage terms. As far as I know, you wouldn't really be held liable for damage to the bike. That's kind of part of the system, and they're also very robust. Helmets are not required to not get a ticket. If you are a child, you're not allowed to use the system. You have to be 18 or with a parent if you're 16 or up. Helmets are required if you are 15 or younger in the state of Georgia. However, the usage terms require a helmet for use of the program, but the state law does not require a helmet. What's being done to sanitize the bike? So Gotcha staff are using sanitation wipes to wipe down the contact points on the bikes periodically.
Yeah, quick add to that a little bit. They've been diligent to be out there. They can't and are not committing to wiping down the bikes after every use because users change quickly. So when my family and I go, we bring wipes, and usually while I'm at it, I just wipe down all the bikes at the station. But that's
another really important question. Do they need to be returned to a Gotcha station? Yes. So there are 22 station locations. If you're using the smartphone app, you can see them. You'll be able to see how many bikes are at which stations, and you can find the nearest one to you. And yes, in order to not get a fee for locking and ending your ride outside of a service location, you need to end it at one of those 22 spots. That being said, you can, within the period of time that you have it, you can lock it, but not end your rental. So if you want to ride to grab lunch and you want to secure it at a bike rack outside of wherever you go, you can do that, and the ride is still kind of reserved for you until you unlock, or until you end it at a designated location.
And one thing I will mention, the system, there's the 22 stations that we've been referencing are on campus. There are some, if you open the app, you will see some off-campus end of ride locations. They're not hubs where Gotcha will distribute and stock bikes, but there are now more than those 22 locations where you can end a ride kind of legally within the system and not be charged extra. But you just have to go into the app, and they're clearly designated in the app.
And then another question, I've seen the racks at the Tate Center, but what about dining halls, specifically Bolton? There is one at Joe Frank, as Christopher says. It's between Joe Frank and Ramsey. As you may imagine, deciding where hard infrastructure goes on campus is a challenging and collaborative process. And so finding space at Bolton was very difficult. And the bike rack there, in my own humble opinion, as the de facto bike czar of UGA, is inadequate for private bikes and would not have worked out well for incorporating bike share parking as well. So the nearest one to Bolton is going to be the one that's near the flagpole at Tate, between Tate and MLC. And then people just have to walk across the road to get to Bolton. Let's see, Snelling, there isn't one exactly near there, but it's just up the street at Myers Quad. And then, what am I missing? Oh, O House. Yeah, that one's a little tricky. There's one at in the Hill community. That's the nearest one to O House. And then Creswell as well has one in the courtyard.
So that's a great question, though. And one of the things we envision this program expanding in the future if demand kind of requires that. So I think dining halls would be fantastic future bike share hubs. So it's not necessarily our decision to make, but we will continue to monitor usage and use patterns, where people are going and where they want to go. And there may be opportunities to expand and have hubs at dining halls in the future.
Yeah, so when you get into the app, we have a question about whether they remind users of road laws. And yes, there's a kind of a little primer when you start the app and sign up before you start to remind you of what the state of Georgia road laws are. And I think there's a link out to more resources. There will also be one, in normal times, what we would have envisioned would be events on campus where where Gotcha is marketing this on UGA's behalf, partnering with Georgia Bikes and Bike Athens and auxiliary services, the Watch Over Dogs campaign to promote safe riding and hand out helmets and give people tips and things like that. Right now, we still haven't really seen what the potential of this is going to be fully, and we won't for months. So, but yeah, we're trying to do what we can to make sure that people understand how to ride safely. Of course, that's not going to take for everyone, just like people who have driver's licenses don't always abide by the laws. So.
All right, well, I think I'm going to move us on. I think we're approaching the end of what was going to be our presentation time, and there's a whole lot more presentation, but that's good. We wanted this to be useful, so hopefully that was helpful info about Bulldog Bike Share. One thing I mentioned early on was that our commitment in the Office of Sustainability is to develop inspired leaders, stronger communities, and thriving natural systems. One of the ways that we focus on leadership development is through our internship program, and also through an academic program, the Certificate in Sustainability, that we help to create and now lead. I'm mentioning those for two main reasons. we love engaging with students, as I'm sure many of you work with students as well. We appreciate their passion and their energy and their willingness to try new things and really desire to make a positive change on campus and in their communities. We in the past have had co-sponsored interns with dining services in particular. We've also so I'm just putting that out there. If you all have needs and an intern to help you advance a sustainability initiative in your part of the organization, if that would be useful, we would love to talk to you about the potential to co-fund or just co-share an intern and their time to help us move these initiatives forward. Also, the certificate in sustainability requires that students complete a capstone project. That's an applied project on campus or in the community to essentially practice what they've been learning. And there have been capstone teams that have focused on auxiliary services related projects in the past. And through our partnership for Sustainable Athens, we are always looking for good project ideas, ways to put an interdisciplinary team of 3 to 5 students on a real task to help make, to move us forward in positive directions. So certificate capstones and internships could present opportunities for you in your parts of your organization. We're committed to developing stronger communities. We do that in various ways. And again, oftentimes it's through our experiential learning initiatives and our interns working with campus and community organizations. And I'm going to move through this quickly. We also are focused on thriving natural systems. And Jason, do you really quickly want to give a super brief energy talk about what we're doing or what folks can do?
Yikes. I'm sorry, I just got, I dove into the comments to answer a few questions that were still lingering about that share. Let's see. Yes, energy. So we are in 2020, so that means we're kind of at the end of the 2020 strategic plan goals period. But one of our goals as a university was to reduce our energy use per square foot of conditioned space by 25% by 2020. And so we've actually, we actually peaked at 23% reduction 2 years ago, and then kind of backslid a little bit. So we're at about 22%, which I think is rather admirable considering how big of a system we have to deal with. And then one of the things that you can see in the background of the top photo here is the solar array at the, what is that? The Club Sports Complex, right? And so that's a 1 megawatt installation. That's a research facility. The equipment is owned by Georgia Power, and the energy it produces is fed directly into Georgia Power's system. But the renewable energy credits belong to UGA. And so we get to keep kind of the environmental attributes of the energy that is being generated there. And so it's also a partnership. So we have research faculty and students who are studying the performance of that system. How is that?
That was fantastic. Thank you. Sorry to put you on the spot. So we are actively pursuing further efficiencies and reduction in energy use intensity at UGA. We're also very interested in expanding renewable energy. So if you have ideas or areas that maybe are in your control or your influence, we'd love to partner with you in any ways that we can to help reduce energy use and to expand the use of renewable energy. And particularly solar on campus. Just for reference, the 1 megawatt solar array on South Millage Avenue generates enough electricity to essentially offset the electricity used in 26 buses, in their daily annual operations. So we're generating enough electricity from the sun to help 26 of those buses run their routes all around campus. So that's kind of cool. In some regards, we can say the electric buses are powered by the sun, or I say that, and Jason doesn't like it when I do. And then the last thing
I'm a pedant.
at the bottom of the screen is Lake Herrick. And if you haven't been out there in a while, we encourage you to go check it out. It's a wonderful amenity right here on campus. One of the projects that our office helped to spearhead and work on over the last several years was watershed improvements to enhance water quality in Lake Herrick, and then the enhancement of the Lake Herrick Pavilion and landscape area and around that pavilion, creating some new trails and just some new opportunities to enjoy that beautiful natural space, not far from Joe Frank Harris Dining Commons. And carry-in non-motorized boats are now welcome on the lake again. So you see the image with a canoe, kayaks, paddleboards, sailboats, anything you can carry in without a motor is welcome on the lake. I take my kayaks out there fairly regularly. It's for me, a wonderful opportunity to just get outside, enjoy nature, and to do it right here on campus and in town.
Yeah, so we have a number of relevant questions here.
Great.
One, diving literally into the weeds. Are you involved in the rejuvenation and control of erosion at Driftmire Woods?
Oh man, we, short answer, not really. We're very interested in that issue as well. It needs a tremendous amount of work. We talk about it a lot. We've worked with various engineering classes and landscape architecture classes, and with the grounds department, who is directly responsible for managing that area. We're all very aware of the challenges, the problems that are there with related to erosion. Have a vague vision as to what could be done or should be done, but definitely acknowledge the need for significant restoration activities in Driftmire Woods.
And then nice to know we're using solar. Will there be any of that on campus buildings to reduce utilities?
We hope so. We'd love to see them. So I think dining halls could be a potential opportunity. A bigger opportunity in my mind, if I can say this out loud, is parking decks. I look at every parking deck as a future power plant. The potential to, and in truth, structurally, it may not be the best fit for every parking facility, but parking decks or surface lots that will be in place for 25 or more years could be great candidates for solar canopies to generate electricity on the top of a deck or even over a surface lot. Those canopies can provide premium covered parking while also generating electricity.
Someone asked if they can rent a canoe or provide my own. I need a new experience fast.
Yeah, oh man, it's fantastic. You can do either. You can provide your own, that's what I do. You can rent when Ramsey reopens. I don't think the Outdoor Rec Center is open currently, but at Ramsey Center, I think it's like $15 a day to rent a canoe or a kayak or a paddleboard. They give you pads and straps so that you can transport that boat on the roof of your car. Also, gosh, what's it called? The outdoor store on Prince Avenue.
Half Moon.
Half Moon Outfitters, thank you. Totally was blanking there. They're a little more expensive, but they rent boats there as well. There is, if you pull into the rec sports complex and the IM fields, and you go in the main entrance, kind of veer to the left, and you can drive down to a little roundabout drop-off to drop off your canoe or kayak or paddleboard, and then go back and park. That is free of charge after hours parking in the EO1's commuter lot there. So that's what I do. I highly recommend it.
There's a couple comments and questions about somebody, Todd confirmed yes after 4 o'clock for that parking.
Exactly.
And then somebody asked if the lake is stocked. There are fish in there. I don't know if we actively stock it. Somebody commented that it's not recommended to consume fish from the lake. Is that true?
Thank you. All of that is true. The lake is stocked, and I should have given credit to Warnell School. They paid to create the lake in the 80s. I think it was in the 80s. They still manage the lake. They're amazing partners that to make that outdoor resource available for all of us, not only the lake, but Oconee Forest on the other side of the lake and the trails through that area are all operated and maintained by Warnell School of Forestry and Natural Resources. So they do stock the lake. Every time I'm out there, I see people fishing. You need a permit to fish in Georgia, as you would in most places. And eating the fish is not advised, just because any urban waterway has water quality challenges.
With all of these new to me campus functions, is there a pamphlet I can pick up?
Good question. We should create one. Right now, we're in the process. Jason, who is on the screen as well, is a man of many talents. He's currently updating our website. So we're going to have more resources available on our new website that'll launch in August. And we probably should create a pamphlet. It's a great idea. Okay. I think I'm looking at timing. Yeah, it's just 8 minutes or so. We've been doing questions along the way, which is our preference. Thank you for that. I think just maybe a quick recap. You all are leading by example in this area, and we're grateful for that. We're grateful for the partnerships that we do have, working with your team on transportation initiatives, on food initiatives. Oh, I want to mention too, I didn't even mention, I know golf course falls under your area. I don't know as much as I should about it, but I know your team out at the golf course has been leaders in sustainability and habitat creation for years. So I want to acknowledge the great work being done out there as well. One of the ways that we continue to engage with our partners, again, is through our internship program. Students are our most valuable resource, students and Jason, who's brilliant and knowledgeable about so many things. But students and their time are hugely beneficial for us, and we share that with others. So again, if you have a experiential learning opportunity for students, whether it's a internship opportunity or a project that you need a team of students to help with, we're happy to facilitate those. Also, you have in the past supported campus sustainability grants. We offer $40,000 a year to students to implement their great ideas on campus or in the community, and several of those have interacted with your organizations in the past. And we appreciate that support and hope that that will continue, as I'm sure we'll continue to get proposals related to auxiliary services on campus. So again, we look to you to continue to lead, and we're here to support. If you have ideas for efficiency or vision for renewables on your facilities that we might be able to help you. I have an image here of Mercedes-Benz Stadium at the bottom of the screen. They had a vision of being the most sustainable sporting venue in the world. They're a LEED Platinum facility. And the bottom left there, you can see solar panels atop their parking deck. But again, if in any of these things that we've talked about, we're here to support you as you continue to be a leader on our campus and really across the country. Continuing, again, you've been a tremendous leader in waste reduction in so many ways. Jason, I want to challenge you to, what if you just didn't produce any waste at all? What would that look like? Is that even possible? But you all have made more strides probably than anyone on this campus. So if anyone can do it, we think you can. So again, moving through this program. Oh, hey, one thing I want to mention, I'm going to point out this picture at the bottom of the screen. One really, basic thing that problem that we see all across campus is black bags in recycling bins. So the black bags in this screen, this is actually a photo from the recycling facility. You can tell inside those bags is probably clean recyclables, the material that were supposed to be in the recycling bin. But the fact that they are in a black bag, they're automatically considered contamination and most likely will get rejected and sent to the landfill. So while we're doing amazing work, we also can't forget the basics and the fundamentals, and just simply putting clear bags in recycling and black bags in trash will ensure that those streams end up where we intend for them to go. I think I'm going to end it there, and we might have a few minutes left for questions, but thanks again for your time. Thanks for, again, the leadership that Auxiliary Services has demonstrated in advancing sustainability at UGA and beyond, and the commitment of your staff, the folks who make those programs run and work. So hopefully, this conversation is maybe reinstilled pride in your organization. We're certainly proud of you, and hopefully strengthened your commitment to advance sustainability initiatives in any area that you can influence. So we're happy to take any more questions if that's okay for the next maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
All right. Now, I want to say again, thank you to you, Kevin, and to Jason, to you as well, for spending your morning with us. We appreciate it, and this has been very informative. Our auxiliary family, it does have an awful lot to be proud of as far as what we're doing first in line with sustainability. So very, very proud moment. So thank you for sure about everything that we're doing. We appreciate you spending time with us.
Our pleasure. Thanks for the invitation.
Let's see, there was, nope, y'all caught them all. Y'all did great with the questions, and I appreciate the help. That was awesome. Everybody, don't forget today check your email for the link to the noon session. We've got the two NACUF sessions at 1 o'clock, and then open mic with marketing at 2 o'clock. We look forward to seeing everybody at those. And thank you again. I hope you have a great rest of your morning. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you.